actually feet on the ground verifying addresses. They wanted us to do that as a city to get a committee together. I said there was no way we were gonna get people together enough who would be willing to do that. So they were hiring people to do that. We've had some questions about whether they were for real or not, and they have been for real. But that doesn't mean the people committing fraud aren't out there, so it's good to be cautious.
They've been looking at local places to train the employees and.
Oh yeah, they've got a whole big office in San Antonio to take care of that.
But they've been looking at places in St. Louis.
Not in San Antonio.
Yeah, they approached the American Legion.
Oh, to do the training there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Don't go back.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't get enough response. So, that's that for now.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the census? All right, thank you, Councilman Baker. All right, under new business, we have, the first item is a request at the last meeting to consider an amendment to the subdivision ordinance that would amend the subdivision ordinance that would require city council action on request for variances to the subdivision rules and regulations. We have, council was kind enough to put together a draft ordinance. This is not something that we've had an opportunity to put out to you all ahead of time, so we're not asking you to read it quickly and then make a motion on this. We would like to have the ordinance for you to study and read, and then we can at next council meeting vote on this. But what it would do is it would put the city council to be able to have a make a motion and a determination on the approval of variances by the planning and zoning. This is in keeping with our current ordinance, because under the current ordinance, the Planning and Zoning Commission is a body that provides recommendations to the City Council. And so if you want to take time to look at this and make any adjustments or input to that, we can do that, and then I'll bring this up at the next council meeting. But if you have any questions for council while he is here related to this ordinance, now would be a good time.
Yeah, so Hubby, under the section 7, A, B, and C, that's very much in legal speak. Can you give us like kind of the summary of each one?
Yeah, so very quickly, the approval plats, you can either approve them as a city council, or you can delegate that authority to your planning and zoning commission, which you have. You've also delegated the authority to approve variances to plats to the planning and zoning commission. I think that's a concern, not necessarily a plat that complies with your code, but the council wants to be able to review plat variances. So these sections, A, B, and C, are really, for the most part, it's the sections A, B, and C in section 7 that currently exist, modified so that the Planning and Zoning Commission would make a recommendation and you would make the final decision on variances. So the first section, subsection A, authority to approve variances, used to say Planning and Zoning Commission's authority to approve variances. And what this now says is that a variance is the application submitted by the plat applicant, and that the Planning and Zoning Commission would make a recommendation, but you have the final authority to either approve, deny, or approve with condition a variance. Subsection B, findings required for the variance. The same findings that was in your current ordinance, it's only that now you would make those findings. And I'm going to read those findings, and that's on page 2, that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the land involved such that a strict application of the provision of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of a reasonable use of his or her land. And so what that's saying is that, you know, we can't put square pegs in round holes, right? So you've created a subdivision ordinance, and it it covers, most development issues, but sometimes there's gonna be special circumstances that weren't contemplated by your code, and that's an appropriate time for you to consider a variance. So you would have to make that finding, yeah, there's special circumstances. Two, that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right of the applicant. And that really goes to number one, is that you find a special circumstance, and if you find a special circumstance, you find that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right of the applicant. Three, that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or general welfare, or injurious to other property. You certainly don't want to grant a variance that's gonna hurt the applicant's neighbor. And that the granting of the variance will not have the effect of preventing the orderly subdivision of other land in the area in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance. And once again, you don't want to grant a variance that would detrimentally affect neighboring land. And so, when are these kind of things happen? I mean, you may have challenging, as far as topography, and, you have a drop-off or something, so you may have a setback or something that just doesn't work because the guy's backyard is a cliff. And so, those are the kind of things that you're looking at, and you make those findings, and if you do, then you certainly can grant the variance or grant the variance with conditions. And so then the third thing is process. It's still the same thing. The subdivider files the application with the mayor with the fee. The Planning and Zoning Commission does not act on the recommendation until the administratively complete application is tendered with the appropriate fee. And then once the commission makes this recommendation, then you have jurisdiction to make a final decision. And so that's the process.
Got a comment? So to remind the council from last meeting, the reason why this was initiated is that this particular subdivision applied for a variance not to include sidewalks, curbs, and all the other things in this big, thick subdivision ordinance. And the P&Z granted that. And it was our concern that when you grant a variance, it really should go to the next level because you're changing something. So that's why we're here, to give you another example beside the one that we gave us.
Any other questions for council?
So, and this is only on variances, correct?
That's right, yes, sir. So that only if it's a subdivision plat that doesn't need a variance, it's the same process.
So are we gonna discuss, is that what I mentioned a while ago, about the options we have from the roadside, accepting roads, the loophole that I discussed a while ago?
Sorry.
So we talked about in December meeting that 30 days had gone by, and again, nobody's to blame. This is kind of the first time we were ever presented as a city this situation where a subdivision was formed and we were told we had to accept the road. And my point is, as I stated in December, we need options from our attorney. Do we let the homeowners association take those roads in? Do we take them in as a city, or any kind of other options? I think we need to choose one of those options and go with it, but this kind of blindsided us.
Understood. Well, we probably need to put that on the next agenda, because this agenda item is just the variance process.
Okay.
But you certainly have some options as far as addressing that issue.
And that's my point. They found a loophole. It's been 30 days, now it's been 60, now it's going to be 90. So I want to, it's not like we have subdivisions going up right now, but I guess there's grandfather clauses that can be included in all that. So I really think that needs to be a priority, because now we're talking.
That's something that, like I said, it can be on the next agenda, and we can address that.
So again, if you would please review this, and then we will have this on the agenda for next meeting to take action on it. Next item is road safety enforcement. Discuss the possibility for additional law enforcement to enforce speed limits on city roads for increased road safety. So there was some concern expressed at the last meeting related to the speeding issue, that we have limited coverage from Bear County, and we don't have officers sitting by the 1346 and 1518 watching speeders out here, and what are possible options for that, and are we, and how would we perhaps have additional law enforcement to enforce speeding limits. I think we had this issue come up about a year or so ago. I did speak with Bear County and the sheriff at that time, and talked with them about increased patrols out here, and frankly was informed that they are so thinly set as it was, that they don't do patrols, they respond to calls.
So, I have a question about that. So, what is our agreement with Bear County? Do we pay them as like a city to the county for the service, or they just, that's part of the taxes?
That's
they
part of
go out?
taxes, they
Okay.
are county law enforcement, they are.
Right, so it's nothing with the
yeah.
city and the county? No.
This is part of the area that they cover, yes.
I mean, again, I mentioned it December, when the first council was put together in 1981, we had a town marshal. When you asked for options, we had a town marshal, he was voted on, and I don't know how many years he was around, but I want to say around 10, but that kind of went away. And so that is one of the options, but again, that's expense. You gotta get a car. Now that we have a court, it makes that a little bit easier, to move forward on, but that is definitely one option, but the position would have to be voted on by the public. And then that person could patrol, and honestly, there's a DPS that lives down the road from me, and I see them all the time. I'm not as worried about, as I stated last month, 1346 and 1518. In total, we've got over 30 miles of city roads, and now with the new school, the HEB in Lavernia, they're speeding everywhere. And we've either got to get better coverage from Bear County, or we've got to step up and do something else.
And I agree with Councilman Hedwig on that. Everybody's speeding out here, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't see any difference when you're outside of the city than when you're in the city.
But it's our city.
I know. But the bottom line is, we don't have the resources right now, so we have to be more creative, but, I mean, they're not enforcing it outside, I don't like it either.
Do we know how much it would cost to put up, or if the county would provide it, like those speed things with the numbers on it? Because people, I just think they're being monitored by those, slow down, or.
Again, I serve the pleasure of the council. Whatever the council determines that they would like me to look into, and if they want me to investigate salaries of a marshal and the costs associated with that, if they would like me to investigate alternate concepts for reducing speeding, if you would like me to, again, reach out once again to the Bear County and ask if we get better coverage, I will do whatever the council requests.
I don't think better coverage is gonna happen just because of how big an area we are, so I don't know that that's the direction we wanna go, but.
They may not see the need, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
And that was the response last time, is that, it's like our crime report. You see, we've got 4 crimes here.
Yeah, they're like,
And
whoops.
Bear County's going,
Big
yeah,
whoop.
I'm gonna come with out here.
But
So it's relative. So.
if you get speeding violations, that would get a lot bigger.
Well, it's an income for the county, absolutely.
But I'm saying the reports,
Yes.
if you're breaking the law, speeding, that list would grow substantially, is my point.
Again, I would do whatever council requests me to do.
And I mean, even a proactive approach to policing, not even like just arresting people or giving tickets. We have one sheriff that patrols this area, once in a while. He sees you coming down the road, he puts on his lights, and your sheriff, and you slow down, everybody slows down, and, you know he's in the area, so everybody calms down for a little bit. But then they're gone for 2 weeks, and everybody, and I can only speak from like the center of town to the south side of town. But Laverne Road, they are flying down that, they're flying down Pittman, they're flying down everywhere.
Well, I certainly can reach out to Bear County again and say, we're seeing increased activity and issues with speeding, and these are the roads in particular we're having problems. What can you do to help us with that? What can you do to increase your visibility here? And so that's a non-cost process, and that doesn't cost us anything. And so that's one thing I can do that doesn't cost anything.
I don't want to mislead anybody. I like to quantify things, and I can tell you, I know people speed everywhere, but I'm not talking about 10 or 20 miles an hour over our, we have an ordinance in this city that's 40 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. I'm talking 70 and 80 miles an hour. They're doubling the speed limit. And like I said in December, now you have to start worrying, because there's a lot of folks moving in, young couples moving in, having kids are on the street, whether that's right or wrong, doesn't matter. All I'm saying is it's getting dangerous. And it's not 10 or 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. It is much faster than that.
Everybody's in a hurry.
Let me, council, tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah, please look into contacting Bear County.
And maybe a quote for the marshal and the car. Because I'm thinking also.
Even if it's not right now, like looking down the road.
Well,
For
it could
the
be a
court
Mr.
stuff,
Marshall
that's your
full-time,
court officer
part-time, or
also, and everything else that, for protection, and, so.
To answer your question, I mean, Habib may know the answer to this, but I am certain that he wasn't on a salary. That was volunteer.
Oh.
Now, we paid for the car and we paid for the expenses to keep the car going, and that's my point. I would say to the mayor, usually the way I filter through those things is I try to find municipalities that are kind of in our situation, our size, whether that's further out in other counties, and see if they have town marshals. I'm sure you could filter that and see any small towns that have marshals and kind of get ideas from them. What did you do in the situation?
Absolutely, I can do some comparison investigation and see what are other cities of our size. Although again, we're really unique in how many roads we have. But I can talk to some of our neighboring rural entities and see what their process is, and come back with a report at next meeting.
Maybe some non-law enforcement things like signs that show how fast you're going, or, things like that. That's just like that low maintenance and.
Okay.
And Mayor, on that same note, I will tell you that I talked to Mr. Plate, and I know we have weight limit ordinance as well, 44,000. And now that I'm home more, I can tell you that there's semi-trucks and trailers that are loaded that are everywhere. And the reason I bring that up, that severely damages our roads. And now we have to have a way of enforcing that. And with the town marshal, you could do that. I was told that the cost of a portable scale is real pricey. But I was also told if we contact the right authorities, they can get a scale out there at any time. So something else to think about other than just speeding. Trucks are everywhere.
The issue that I also have to look into is that if we did determine that we wanted to go the route of the marshal, them writing tickets, we need to work with Bear County on that, because at this time, any tickets that are written go to Bear County. And if we want to change that process so those tickets come through the municipal court here, then we have to get that process in place. So there are additional things to look at. And also in answer to looking for a quote from marshals, yes, we absolutely do that. Obviously, we don't have that in the budget this year, but it is something that if we determine that the council wants to go this route, that we have to look at how we make a budget for it for next year. Yeah, so it's a process.
I know squeaky door gets the oil. What would be wrong with asking a representative from Bear County Sheriff's Department to come to one of our meetings?
You can always ask.
Give us options, or at least share our concerns.
Okay.
Actually, one resolution too.
do that. All right, anything else on the road safety? All right, thank you. Next, under new business, Planning Zoning Commission review subdivision ordinance. So as we have discussed, we've been discussing for the past 2 months, we recognize that the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance needs revision and review. It's been a while since those ordinances were developed. We have changes in the law, we have changes in processes, we have changes in our future land use map. So there's a lot of things that we have that are changing. We've asked the Planning and Zoning Commission to review the zoning ordinance, and currently they are working on that and we'll be working with our council to ensure that if changes and recommendations to the zoning ordinance are appropriate. We also need to review our subdivision ordinance, and one of the conversations that we actually was a learning experience for Councilman Padalecki and I in talking with one of the engineering firms is they started to give us some technical information about what you should probably have in your subdivision ordinance from an engineering standpoint. And the concern is that perhaps the planning and zoning doesn't have that kind of engineering background to be able to look at those on the subdivision ordinance and to get that technical information. So the thought is that we would retain one of the engineering firms that was on our RFQ and ask them to participate with the Planning and Zoning Commission to look at the subdivision ordinance in conjunction with council to be able to make sure that on the round going of reviewing that subdivision ordinance that we get it technically correct as well. And the best example is probably that road issue of how are we going to ensure that the roads are the standard that they want them to be. How are we going to perhaps put in language related HOAs and things like that in the subdivision ordinance. I put that out to the council. If you would consider and make a motion to retain a professional engineering firm to assist the Planning and Zoning Commission to review the subdivision ordinance.
I move that we retain professional engineering firm to assist the Planning and Zoning Commission review subdivision ordinance.
I'll second.
All right. Any additional questions or comments related to that?
That would take care of Councilman Padalecki's concern about
Well,
maintaining the roads. I mean, it would be inclusive of an HOA or,
yeah, again, it's gonna be 90 days in February. Habib said he would do that. Yeah, maybe later on we can get the engineer on that, but we've got to close out the book.
do something before.
Yeah, no, the engineering firm here is looking at technical information about the actual roads and so the specs. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Again, it's the first time it happened, but I know some folks got upset in December, and then we've had lengthy conversations in the January meeting. I personally don't want to go through that again. We need to, again, it's going to be a quarter of 1 year has already passed since we've been through, initiated with this, and we need to close it, or at least give them options, because my guess is that Beam's going to give us options, and we're going to take another month to decide what option. So, to answer your question.
So we have the motion, we have any more discussion on the engineering firm per se for technical support to the planning and zoning. Hearing none, all in favor of retaining a professional engineering firm, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, we will go ahead and look at one of the planning and zoning commissions, one of the engineering firms to work with planning and zoning. And then last but not least, you had mentioned earlier, Councilman Padalecki, that one of the things that we need to do is keep up with changes and modifications to rules every time the legislature comes out, every time a new court case comes out. We want to make sure that we're keeping in step with those new rules and regulations and case law. A couple of months ago, I presented a rules of decorum or rules of procedures for city meetings that you all had a chance to look at, and I had determined you wanted to adopt. Two changes that I am recommending making to that. One was you adopted the procedure. It was not done as a resolution, so we need to do it as a resolution. The changes to those rules of decorum for conducting city hall meetings are in the packet you have there. So what I want you to understand is that the rules are exactly the same. There's no changes to the rules that you already have. The two differences is, number one, I made the procedures and rules of decorum so they apply to all city meetings, not just city council meetings. So that any city-held meeting is going to abide by these rules of Robert's Rules of Order and the rules of decorum. The other change and so that's it, the major change in the language. That is pretty much it. Everything else in it remains the same. But we did want to make sure that it was in keeping with the new House bill that has come out that says that a governing body will make rules as to how citizens to be heard can continue to be heard at city council meetings and set that forth. The reason that, and if I'm saying this wrong, Mr. please help me, the reason that doesn't need to change from the rules of procedure that I had previously submitted is because in that previous document, we had clarified that we would have a citizens to be heard and that they have the opportunity to provide input on any item on the agenda prior to our deliberation on that agenda, which is what we currently do now. So our current process is in keeping with the House bill that was recently passed.
So is that change on section 6? I'm just trying to document the two changes.
The only change is that instead of the language in there saying at a city council meeting, the language now says that at any city held meeting. That is the language change in this process. The ensuring that our rules of procedure are in keeping with the new House bill was simply a matter of me looking through this again and ensuring that what we currently have is in keeping with the language for the House bill. So there is no change to that. There doesn't need to be. So all the information that you currently approved is the same. If you would prefer to relook at this again and hold this until the next meeting, because I do apologize, I got this to you late today. If you would like to take the time to look at it, I absolutely I have no problem with that.
It actually brings up a good point. One of my agenda items to add for next month was not to make fun of it, but it was a resolution for a resolution. My point being, is there any way we can maybe change this before next month if the council decides to review it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we can put in this writing that any new resolutions that we're to take action on, we get, same as the agenda, 72 hours prior to that? And I know, I'm not saying we don't. I know everybody's busy. We have no full-time employees. But I know some of I would personally would like to have a little bit more time to look at resolutions.
Absolutely.
So does that mean we got to have a resolution for that, Habib, or should we just
We can
put it in, add it to
yeah,
you?
we just include this in the language of that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can include it, yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
All ordinances, all resolutions that,
I just read that section here too.
Ordinances we usually get, but resolutions are so small that they're important. But, and I know I for one like to study it a little bit before I'm asked to make a decision.
Sure.
So.
and that's why I wanted to present this to you. It's available to be able to be moved on today, but I would prefer that you all take a time to look it over in case you want to add anything to it or make any changes. But I just wanted you to also be aware that we want to be sure it complies with the new House bill that ensures that individuals have a right to be heard at council meetings.
So I've read this and I've read the original one that you did, and I agree with Councilman Padalecki's remarks. I don't know about that, we can vote this down, but I accept I move to accept resolution 2003 with the change in section 7.2. The city secretary shall prepare copies of all proposed ordinance to be available for distribution to all members of the city council at the meeting at which the ordinance is introduced or at such an earlier time as appropriate. 2, be available for distribution to all members of the city council 72 hours before the meeting at which time the ordinance is introduced or such time earlier as appropriate. That's my motion.
Okay? I'm not gonna make you repeat that. So just to reiterate, the motion is to approve the resolution with the change under item 7.2 to include the 72-hour distribution to the councilman or to the meeting members to allow appropriate time for review.
I'd like to amend that to meeting members.
Meeting members, yeah.
Although that sounds good, but we're kind of running in a circle there. Could we take time to wait, look over, make a decision?
Something else that comes.
Yeah, before we do it that
Then
way.
the motion for.
Motion on the floor, so we need a second, and if we don't have a second, so the motion is fixed. All right, and
Now,
that's,
point of order, quick
Yes.
question on, I forgot what you call it when you have a question, it's not a point of order, it's
It's
a
a-
question. Point of privilege. So, would this have to be renumbered as 2004? Okay, gotcha.
because it's gonna be the same, unless something
But we
comes.
voted it.
Right.
If you voted it in and then you changed it, you'd have to.
Do we do it?
But you can make a motion for the change that you talked about. You can do that. I'm just saying, it's, the motion you made was kind of to accept it as is, that's my, I'm making. If you want to make a motion to adopt the change before we do the final approval,
No, my motion was that we approve it with that change had to be included. But we can't discuss that because there's no motion on the floor.
That's correct.
So I move that we change, section 7.2, distribution of ordinances to, city secretary shall prepare copies of all proposed ordinance to be available for distribution to all members of the
Of the
city,
governing body that's meeting.
of the governing body. Can't do that.
Massachusetts.
Governing body, at the meeting, governing body 72 hours prior to the meeting which the ordinance is introduced. To include resolutions. At which time, well, this is under distribution of ordinances, so,
It's under consideration of ordinances, resolutions, and motions.
at some point, there's distribution of ordinances, and we can't discuss this because I just put a motion.
Correct. Not hearing a second, do I have a second? Not hearing a second, then the motion fails.
I move not to accept this, to be amended to this document, not to accept the document, to amend the document. Distribution of ordinances, city secretary shall prepare copies of all proposed ordinances and resolutions to be available for distribution to all members of the governing body 72 hours prior to the meeting which the ordinance or resolution is introduced, or such earlier time as appropriate.
A second motion.
Any comments or questions on the motion?
key words there, ordinances and resolutions, so. I want to point that out.
Any discussion? All in favor? All those opposed? Hearing none, we will accept that amendment motion.
I was going to get their attention.
All right, then in that case, with the council, will you please review this, and we will put it on the agenda for the next council meeting.
Point of order on that too. So if we have any changes, can we put it up to, because we're gonna have to vote it on it again with those amendments. The next meeting, wait another month, but, you know, so can we email the city if we find stuff in there?
Yes.
Distribute it out to the.
Correct. now,
I'm not gonna be smiling at that picture.
announcements. All right. We have very good news for the city. We made our final bond payment last week, and so we are clear of our bond. It makes us a good fiscal city for that. And is there any other announcements for the good of the,
I got a couple kudos. Does Laura and Arthur Strelsick still clean our city hall? I was in here yesterday and today, and I know they do it right before the meeting, but they do a super job, I think, and kudos to them for continuing to do a good job. And also, congratulations to both our maintenance men. They both graduated from college this past December, correct, Janice? So, good news, bad news. Yeah, I think one of them's gonna try to get their master's, but good news, bad news. Good news is they graduated. Bad news is we may not have them much longer, so need to be thinking. But anyway, congratulations to those guys.
excellent. Right, if we have no other announcements, then we need to look at the date for our next council meeting. It would be the first Thursday of February, which would be the 6th. Yeah, and just making sure that that's not a conflict for anyone.
I won't be able to.
What's the date?
February 6th.
Is that the first day of the rodeo?
Yes.
It is.
Is that problematic? Do we-
I'll try to make it, because the rodeo will last for 2 more weeks after that, so. It's one way or the other, don't let me get in the way.
Maybe it'll be a shorter meeting.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not looking like it.
All right, then February 6th is our next meeting.
Agenda items,
We'll put that out.
determine agenda, can we talk about that? Number 11?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Want to make sure that we get the options from Habib on the road acceptance situation for the subdivision ordinance. I think that should be top priority. And I may have missed this in the November meeting since I wasn't here, but I know we lost our election official, God rest her soul. Do we need to talk about that in February, or is there another person that's going to be our election official?
Oh, yes, we have another election.
Okay, so that's all good.
That's all handled, yeah.
Thank you.
Is that something we handle or the county?
Right. Anything else? If there's anything else that needs to go on the agenda, please let me know. By email or phone. All right. If we have nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for your patience.